Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 54 of Syncing with ServiceNow. I am your host, Fred Reynolds. I run the modern apps practice here at XenTegra, and with me today, I have Kristin McDonald. How you doing today, Kristin?
Doing great, thanks.
So I hope your week's been well. Is there anything interesting and new that's happening for you?
Well, I'm in San Francisco. We're getting ready for the Super Bowl on Sunday. So there's planes and road closures and all sorts of crazy stuff.
I did not realize the Super Bowl was in San Francisco this year, so that's good. I guess that's good for the Seahawks, right? Maybe not for the Patriots because that's East Coast, West Coast.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll
Are you a
see.
football fan?
I root for the team of whatever city I live in. That's how much of a football fan I am.
Well, they're not in the Super Bowl, but oh well, maybe they will be soon enough. So anyway, awesome. Well, great. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and share the blog that you brought to me today, and we can get going on it. Okay, listen, today's blog is Legacy CRM Steals Time, AI Returns It. So I want you to set this up, but I'm really assuming here that ServiceNow's CRM, which is a newer application in the last couple of years, and they brought into the fold. Certainly was something that was always on their roadmap to do. Now it's here, it's live. People can procure CRM, the application from ServiceNow. Reading just the title of this blog lets me know that ServiceNow is led with AI in their CRM approach. So tell me why you brought the article to us today.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, it's a newer product for ServiceNow. There is a pretty big focus on CRM from the ServiceNow side, as well as a big focus on AI, which I think every company right now is focused pretty heavily on AI features and functionality. We heard a lot about this at Knowledge, and we first wanted to just kind of bring it to the attention of our customer base because it is a new product that's available, but also talk about how AI can be utilized in CRM solutions. So we know both Salesforce and ServiceNow are going after AI in this space, and there's lots of really interesting use cases there. Yeah.
Perfect. And this piggybacks off our conversation, last week, the podcast we had around AI, around ITSM and just the advancements. And I know a couple of things that you stated there was like, you were very excited about the platform and how ServiceNow has really positioned AI well. We alluded to the fact, even in that podcast, of that AI is really strong in the ITSM space and others because that's been the bread and butter. But the fact that they took a more lead with AI and CRM, kind of tells me that you're right. I mean, they built the platform, it's ready for everything they do is thinking about how to incorporate AI in that work for those applications.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like ITSM, ServiceNow has product teams that are specific to each product vertical, which I think is a great approach because you can really have people on that product development team who know the space they're working in and how new tools like AI can really be leveraged there. But then you also have the base platform. You and I, we love the football slide that shows all the core features of the
Absolutely.
platform. Yep. And how those can be applied to every application. Yep.
Perfect. So I want to roll through this blog. I will call out this one quote for those that are listening and not kind of watching the podcast. An AI native sales platform can help organizations create frictionless experiences from quote to cash. And that's a lot of what we're going to kind of probably move into in the past. But is that kind of the main premise of this blog as far as how to get things done quicker from quote to cash?
So it's funny you asked that because we spoke just briefly before this, and I mentioned there's something I want to kind of add on to the end and a use case I'd like to explore. But this particular blog really covers the beginning portion of that, the quote portion of that quote to cash process. But AI has several use cases that can span that entire quote to cash process. And you and I know it's a big statement to say that can help create a frictionless experience. That is not the
Absolutely.
typical.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into some of that conversation because things have already popped into my head and the things that I really wanted from this experience where we were. Like I know the capabilities are there now, especially putting more and more into the platform that has the information that's needed. So let's jump into it. So this first section says AI powered deal momentum. So there's several bullet points here. Maybe you could take us through each bullet point and talk to it a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. So, a lot of this really focused around the quoting process, as mentioned. This article is very much from a sales perspective. So, the perspective of a sales rep who is working with a customer, generating those quotes, and how an AI powered CRM can really take some of that legwork off of the sales rep and let them really kind of focus on the customer relationship less than actually working in the tool set, which we know is a great thing because sales reps, that is their strength, their relationships, not necessarily data entries.
Got Makes sense. Makes sense.
Absolutely. So the first bullet here really talks about generating quotes. This is not necessarily something that's heavy in the AI space, but ServiceNow as an integration engine really excels here because you're talking about pulling real time data from other systems. So you've got things like pricing, discounts, product configurations within ServiceNow, but you can also use some of those integration capabilities to go into your master data management systems to pull information about your customers and their accounts. So, generating quotes really depends on excellent data underpinning it. Um, I think you and I have seen it. A lot of customers, a lot of even very large organizations really don't have their products lined out very in a streamlined manner. They don't have their SKUs defined. They don't have their products defined in their quoting tools, which is kind of a surprise. But we've been able to help quite a few of them actually get to that point. And once you have that level of granularity in your quoting tool, there's so much that you can do.
Think things move so rapidly in that area that there's always changes. There's always changes with the like you said the SKUs or the products or the offers. When you change an offer, sometimes you're changing the whole process of how you quote and how they do that. So I can imagine that you know, it's more of you have to find a way to have the information there to do the quotes in the first place, right? Keep that up to date because a lot of times people have a starting point, but they never go back and update it, but yet they change the way they want to deliver a product or sell a product, and therefore you're doing band-aid fixes or you're having a base quote and having to go massage that quote to get it out the door.
Absolutely. And that actually goes straight to the third bullet point on this list, which is configuring complex solutions intuitively. So ServiceNow is suggesting that we can use AI to suggest bundles for customers, really based on their context, their previous orders, their service records, which you have in a single system there. So making some of those suggestions rather than sales reps trying to put these bundles together. Let's see what their history looks like and make some recommendations automatically.
Well, big thing I was gonna hit on later, and I'm sure we'll go back to it, but when you said, these complex solutions or services, things that they're doing from a service a little bit, that's a big part to me because I feel like from a sales, sometimes if you're just in a sales tool separate from your delivery type tools, you're missing out on seeing what are we actually delivering for a customer, where are some of the pain points, where they ask for, where are the upsell opportunities, that's the biggest part, and when you said using AI to kind of figure out, "Hey, how do you bundle things? What are the missing components here?" It can even be outside of a certain thing. Like I think of XenTegra, we work on ServiceNow daily. We also have security practices. We have modern workspaces and data warehousing and managed services. I mean, all these things that, AI would be used to say, hey, I see you buying that or GRC. What about the other security offers that, XenTegra has around pen testing and things like that? To put it on there. It could be optional, but that's a lot of it is having a quoting tool that has all the different options that you may need and let AI help you decipher what's the right one to position at that time.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to the time, which I think is quickly coming, where we can have AI actually go in and look at the records in a customer's system and see the history of their incidents and things like that, and really make some recommendations there around if you implemented this module or if you implemented this workflow, it could save you 10% on this process. I think we're getting there pretty quickly.
I
Yeah.
like that. Or it may be as simple as saying, "Hey, we looked at all your outages and most of them are network related, so maybe you should look at some networking related opportunities," right?
Absolutely, yeah. Those dashboards are really starting to come out. They're kinda in their infancy right now, but we even talked on the last podcast about some AI-powered reporting. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, very neat, very neat. The next one is reduce errors and rework. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely. And we know that AI isn't 100%. You always need a human element there, but if it can get the draft for you or even do some QA checks against the human work that's already been completed, it can definitely save time and reduce that margin of error for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Yep. And then the last couple, improving customer experience, anything that gets more visibility to the individuals who are servicing a customer is definitely going to improve that customer experience. And again, some of these recommendations based on historical patterns can identify areas that really work towards customers' goals. So that's definitely an area.
Mhm.
And then
And the
last
last
but not
one
least, Oh, sorry?
freeing them up for selling time, right? I think a lot of times I do see it from my own sellers. We spend a lot of time building things together to deliver to the customer, which a first pass, sometimes you go back 2 or 3 times to get that massage. And it takes a lot of time from where they should be out, talking about different solutions or what to do with that or moving on to the services pieces of those, say, licenses deals. So I definitely see that. And that overall improved customer experience, I think the faster you can actually get quotes in front of the client, the more accuracy you have around those. I think that's something we get ready to get into, so I don't want to go too fast here, but like that's a really important thing for that sales cycle. And how do you? That's the ability to get quote to cash. How quickly can you get it in front of them, and how quickly can they act? And if you have to make changes, that needs to be a fast process. We are freeing up that time to move forward with it.
Mhm. Absolutely.
All right, so that segues us into build trust through consistency and accuracy. What
Mhm.
does this section tell us?
Absolutely. So this is really, again, working at those business rule levels, the approval policies, compliance checks, things like that. Some of those things, you and I have talked quite a bit about automation versus AI, and AI is not always the solution in a certain use case, right? So some of these things can certainly be helped with automation without even involving AI, things like those approval policies and setting up your pricing rules. But AI can definitely add that extra layer, that compliance check, that quality assurance check on top of what the humans are doing or building, or vice versa. You have AI build the draft and then you have a human check at the end. So, wherever you want to implement AI as part of that process, it certainly helps with efficiency and making sure that errors are caught. Yep.
Absolutely, and I don't know too much about some of the quoting that's capable here in the ServiceNow platform. I haven't personally used it, so you may help me here. But I mean, I would think that some of the same principles that I've seen in, say, like incidents, summarization, right? Looking at that, understanding what was said before. I mean, using some of those AIs to really keep you accountable for what was done in the past and how you position things in the past would be really helpful to get that consistency, right? And provide an accurate type statement to the customer.
Yep. Absolutely. Wait till we get to the quote to cash part of this discussion. Your mind's going
Gotcha,
to be
gotcha.
blown.
Well, then we'll speed up through a couple more of these bullet points here that they have for us in this blog. So, deliver personalized and profitable deals.
Ugh, this is, I think, one of the most untapped markets in AI right now. Everybody's going after the low hanging fruit, which absolutely makes sense. But along with reporting, I think the ability to personalize is my second favorite thing about AI and its capabilities. It really is going to unlock the ability to personalize offerings for customers because it can change things on the fly. It can change configurations. It can change code on the fly. It can personalize summaries to the individual that it's speaking to, right? Based on their preferences, their preferred language, right? Their understanding of things, their role in the organization. So I love the personalization factor of AI. I think it really is a great untapped feature that we're going to see a lot more of in the future.
That is exciting. I'm more interested here in the profitability of deals. So, how does this help us be more profitable in our deals? I'd love to understand that.
Well, it's mentioned because it can help with the quoting process and the pricing process. It really can make some suggestions to the seller. So, um, looking for that perfect fit for the customer, identifying those upsells, as we mentioned before, based on the actual service records for that customer or the information about what they've purchased in the past.
I'll say in general, I've used a couple of different tools and one that we certainly use today, but I could see where how it leads to profitable deals, and I may be going off on a tangent here, but I would see that the fact that ServiceNow as a core of it has it does have SLAs, it has, approvals and some processes built into it, using the real process around doing deals and going through deals, and you said, like, the global type rules, things that are set. This is the profitability percentage you want at every single deal. Like, those things should be in place to where it raises flags if you're not meeting those guidelines. Sets you up on a workflow to help you get there or work through that. Even AI can be a part of that, helping you work to figure out ways to make it back to that profitable point. I definitely see that, and if it could do that a lot quicker than having to spend a lot of time personally trying to figure it out or going back and forth between meetings to do that, I can see that would be, one, you get the profitable deals, but honestly, to go it a lot quicker.
That is the perfect segue actually into our quote to cash discussion. And I think we're on the last section, which is just a wrap up anyway. So,
Sure.
shall we dive into that portion?
We should. I'll just touch on this last bit. It's just CRM is the way to go. I mean, AI CRM is the way to go. And I think for the reasons we talked about, right? Really helping AI helping us to move faster, have more accurate quotes, be more consistent. helping us follow the guidelines of which we should be doing. I think it's just really that governing factor around that, and in places where it can save time, even if it's the write up of the legalese to go with it, and that AI can help to do summarizations around those for some of those to help make it more understandable. I think there's a lot of things that I agree that I think, a CRM that's built with AI as a foundation of it. I think, obviously, it's a new way, right? It's a new way of thinking. A lot of people like the old way, the legacy way of doing it, but you have to move very quick in this environment these days. Everybody start needs to start using some of these capabilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100% agree.
I tell you what, I will stop sharing, and now you get to a fun part. So I know there's some things you want to talk around this.
Ugh, I am so excited about this because you and I have been working with quote to cash since like 2016, right? Actually
Indeed.
2015. It's a space that I care a lot about. It's actually my area of specialty. So I'm so excited as to what AI can do in that space. This article really focused around the quoting tool, kind of the front end of that process. And I didn't quite get into the to cash portion, right?
Yeah, yeah, true, very true. Yep,
But I would say the biggest issue we've seen getting customers quote to cash processes implemented, and even, when you and I were working internally with internal systems, is data management, right?
100%.
Sales reps, again, they're not great at data entry. We don't need them to be great at data entry, right? They're great at relationships. That's what they're good at. That's why we hire them, right? And we want them to focus on those relationships. So you get a sales rep into Salesforce or ServiceNow CRM solution or anything else, they're going to create duplicate accounts with duplicate locations. They're going to go off the record with their SKUs and SLAs, right? They're going to, build a bundle that's custom to these clients, right? That can actually cause havoc once you sign the contract, right? Because you have to know what's sold to the customer. You have to have the good data that goes into the servicing system so that, as you mentioned, you can actually deliver on what was sold to the customer, right?
100%.
So AI can help so much with that because first off, a lot of people don't talk about this, but it's an excellent ETL tool. So it can actually deduplicate data. It can find patterns in data. So when your sales rep types in, Coke instead of Coca-Cola, right? Just to use one example, AI can actually find that, deduplicate the record, recommend that to a data manager, and then they can consolidate it and all is well, right? And then you've
Absolutely.
got
Yeah.
tracking all the way through the process, right?
Right.
The other thing is you talked about the creation of contracts. Well, contracts are human language, right? Very technical human language, but they're human language. And human language and data don't always mix well. AI is great at that, right?
Yeah.
So you have a legal contract, you had to have a data entry person actually translate that into serviceable records and SLAs and individual products in your servicing systems. Well, AI can do that, right? It
Yeah.
can read the paragraphs, it can translate that into actual formatted data so that you know what you've sold this customer, you know what their SLAs are, what you're contractually obligated to, right? It's
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. It's a huge step forward for quote to cash systems, which I'm so excited about, right? And we even have a major customer who we're working with them, and their major goal right now is just to get that visibility so that they can see throughout the entire life cycle of their process. And AI can handle those data transitions that up to this point have been a roadblock for all of these major corporations. Yeah.
And I love everything you're saying. I want to take off that tangent, but like when I'm hearing you say those things, that quote to cash, my biggest thing I get excited about, especially like in a platform like ServiceNow, it is a platform. And you start putting on these different applications and you start using that for now your sales and your quote to cash and you start looking building that, how easily that ties into, okay, something is actually sold, right? You quoted it, you now booked it, and all the things you just said around AI can do. Well, a workflow can also be built in SPM to kick off a project, to set all those
Mhm.
parameters, to take that customer and without anybody having to touch it, can go set the SLAs around that, set up those assignment groups based on what you do. I mean, all those things just tie so nicely together. And then so then you're able to now go service that customer. It's live, it's ready to
Mhm.
go. And also all the work that you do in there, all the incidents, the requests, all the problems, all the things you're doing for that customer from that point forward, if that customer was not there, some of that data can now be scrubbed and used for future sales opportunities, which we discussed. But none of that can really happen unless these systems are together. The data is in one place, or at least a way to do that. Now, our past, we did that through integrations, billions of integrations, it felt like, but a lot of integrations to go pull the data we need to present something like that. I just feel like the way this has moved forward, what I've seen out of ServiceNow in the last few years, now having CRM in there and some other applications you're doing, the legal, the finances, that was all coming along anyway. But this
Yep.
kind of completes that circle because finances, as part of these things is a big part as well. Not only what you sold them, and that makes sense from the sales, but once you're servicing them, how well are you servicing them? Are you meeting those SLAs? Are you paying fines to that? And again, from an MSP standpoint, just to flip to that too, Kristen, because there's a lot of value there in
Sure.
using ServiceNow as a as a provider, right? That's where the finances really get into it because you are being penalized for some of those things. Or what is the downtime affecting your revenue stream from that as well? So sorry, I just threw my stuff in there too, but it all just goes together so nicely, you know?
Absolutely, and this is something that you and I, again, we've worked on internal systems for MSP. We've worked with several customers who are MSPs and have these same quote to cash issues. I think it's something we both care a lot about because we've seen all of the struggles with it and we dealt with it ourselves. I do want to bring up one more point, which has to do with personalization that we were talking about. With all of the data struggles, right? Trying to get your CRM, talking to your servicing, talking to your back end billing system, right? A lot of customers have had to, out of necessity, take the approach of standardizing what they're selling. And they can't do the boutique personalized things for their customers, right? Which really kind of hamstrings both them and their customers because the customers aren't getting exactly what they need, but you have to have the standardization if you want the things to talk to each other real well, right? But now that you've got AI that can parse these contracts, that can create SLAs on the fly, that can handle some of these personalized pieces, right? And you don't have to have people sitting in between these systems doing data entry. It really takes it to the point where enterprises can go back to boutique support.
Agree. Agree. I
Yeah,
love that. I love that, especially about personalization. I mean, there's different ways of that. When I think about the service delivery part into the sales part, I mean, that's very personalized. I mean, when things are happening on the service side that affects this customer, I mean, that be able to come back and being articulated by the salesperson and not maybe by the support organization, it's a really important thing because I know that there were several times in the past, some of the sellers that were supporting their clients did not know of some of the major issues that they could have been having or were having, right? The delivery
yep,
teams do. That disconnect is sometimes very harmful when the seller goes up to them and go, "Oh, by the way, I want to try to sell you this new thing." And they're like, "Well, you get the first thing working first, buddy," right? So it's kind of it can create some bad synergies there, as opposed to the tools actually helping you understand where you are in this process, and hey, maybe this isn't the right time. I know that AI's not going to have that quite that human aspect to it, but positioning things and saying, "Here's the challenges you're having," and like we said before, maybe it's going into the portfolio and understanding where the company actually sells the products and support to tap into other things and say, "Hey, they seem to be having the biggest struggle with this area. Maybe you can offer them, an assessment, kind of like what we do a lot, like give an assessment, see how we can go there and help." It's pretty
absolutely.
exciting to see that. And I will say this too, Kristen, we are passionate about it. I think we get passionate about anything we're working with a client with. This is an area I think we were really working on for a while and trying to see how it could come together. All right, Kristen. So we went through the blog of the day. We had some extra conversations around, taking a little bit further from our experiences. Is there any final thoughts you have on the blog or and CRM, AI in general?
So I think there's so many opportunities in this space. This is the space I am very excited about. But as you mentioned, the reporting piece and the personalization aspects of AI, I think, are definitely two areas to watch.
Awesome. Well, I do thank you for your time today. I love doing these podcasts and learning a little bit more on some of the things deeper that I don't even know as well about. I'm like, things are changing so fast, things are moving so fast. We're starting to see some of the AI in practice. And the more we can get exposed to that, the more that we actually do, I think the more we can actually help customers in this area. I think they could probably hear and see the passion that you have and I have around helping clients with that quote to cash. We have someone working with. So if there's anybody watching, listening to this, that need some help in this area, please feel to reach out to us and anything that's related to your ServiceNow needs. Kristen, thank you, and look forward to our next podcast.